Hello, my name is Tiago Ferreira from the city of Amarante, Portugal, and in this episode we will talk about cluster development. A cluster is a regional concentration of related industries and companies. Clusters could be located at the city level, but in several activities they are regional. Clusters are important building blocks of modern economies. They provide attractive opportunities for business investment, exports, and site selection. Clusters are a powerful tool for policy action and framework for economic development. Normally, they are developed in cities and regions that had specific competitive advantages for their activity development. There are two ways to see a cluster that you should reflect on: the traded clusters and local clusters. When we say traded clusters, we are talking about economic activities that are exposed to international markets and international competition. For this kind, having a competitive advantage is fundamental. For example, in the Amarante region, there is a textile cluster that a century ago it benefited from the existence of rivers that were a very important way to provide mechanical energy. That was essential for the activity. When we say local clusters, we are talking about economic activities that are focused on local or regional customers and are not exposed to international competition. Restaurants, clothes shops, bakeries are some of the examples that we can have. In modern economies, traded clusters, they are the engines. They normally represent less employment than local clusters, but they represent the major part of the region's innovation. Local clusters, they are the foundation of local economies. Beyond their key role on employment, they are fundamental on the cultural valorization and people well-being. Cities that have developed a competitive cluster concentrated in their area, they could benefit from good job opportunities that came from that sector. But don't forget, to have only one economic cluster could be a risk. International or national economy decisions, they could change the competitiveness of the cluster. And if your economy has not a good mix of activity, it will not be resilient. So, promoting diversity of economy activities is something that you should consider. The example I gave on the textile cluster, it is also an example of that risk. During the 90s, with new international trade regulation, the major part of existing textile companies, they closed, because at that moment, producing in China was really cheaper and the region suffered with high unemployment rate. And so, the question is, how could a city act in order to develop existing or new clusters? I could give you some tips. First, reflect on what are the existing most common activities on your city. What would be the key conclusion of your economy SWOT analysis? Do you have a good balance of innovation, local and international business? Does your economy create opportunities for all the people that want to have a work? Second, what are the economic activities where you have at the same time an existing competitive advantage, an interesting marketing opportunity, and also high potential leaders of the companies working on that activity? If you have an economic activity that fits all of these criteria, maybe it could be a high potential cluster. For the creation of a new cluster, a good way to imagine how could you be competitive is to see what kind of new clusters are deeply related with our existing clusters. For example, if you have a metalwork cluster, you will be probably a competitive place for the creation of companies on sectors like automotive, production technologies, or plastics. That was the case of Amarante. We have an interesting metalwork sector, including a specialized vocational school located here. And that was fundamental to attract an innovative company on the connectors to our city. When you have identified companies that are related with the cluster you want to promote, you could start working together on defining a participatory action plan and a support team that will include the participation of local authorities, universities, R&D centers, and also companies. At cluster development, there are some kind of typical activities that you can consider organize according to the diagnosis you made and according to the priorities. Organize and discuss market information, creating specialized infrastructures, offer new educational and workforce training, promote cluster exports, promote the cluster with marketing and communication, develop collective research and development projects. An amazing example of cluster development that we have at iPlace network is the Pori example. Pori is a Finland city that, through their regional economy agency PriceTech, is developing two clusters: RoboCoast about robotics and GameCoast about gamification. RoboCoast is recognized by the European Commission as a digital innovation hub. Today, they are a consortium of 9 universities, 6 partners and almost 7,000 specialists in R&D. They work in 4 main dimensions: innovation ecosystem and network, promoting matchmaking events, boot camps, webinars and technology exhibitions. Tests for investment, promoting living labs, workshops and competitions. Supports to find events, matchmaking to public and private funding, and coaching entrepreneurs on the investment cycle. Skills and training, attracting talent with campaigns, match doctoral programs with companies, and promoting specialized courses. Clusters, they leverage the power of spillovers and linkages to drive rapid economic development. They are a vehicle for policies and investments that strengthen multiple related firms and institutions simultaneously. As Michael Porter said, if you promote your competitive advantages and you develop your clusters, you will not need to fight for investment attraction and to provide huge tax incentives. Develop your cluster is to promote competitive companies. Competitive companies are the ones that are able to offer good jobs and to promote your economy progress. Thank you.